There was a time when San Francisco treat was a tasty box of rice pilaf. Now, it's a bundle of heroin smoked right there on the sidewalk. And business owners say it's time to go on offense. But will their desperate new tactic be enough to wake up the woke? I'm Tom Shalhoub, in for Kennedy. San Francisco used to be a beautiful place, but now it's a complete disaster. Crime is rampant. Homelessness is out of control. Drugs, feces, the 49ers. Just kidding about that last part, kind of, right? Small businesses say the chaos is making it impossible to operate.
Every day we wake up and have to help people on the street. We have to clean up feces on the street. We have to clear our doorways before we can open our businesses, and it's not fair.
And now those business owners are fighting back, but not against the criminals. This time, it's against the city itself. The Castro Merchants Association represents 125 businesses in one of the city's trendiest districts, and they recently sent the city a letter with a list of demands. They want the homeless removed, and they want more cops on the street. And if they don't get that, the businesses won't pay their taxes. The problem is, San Francisco, famously liberal, and for them, more police is never the solution. But even Joe Biden is publicly slamming that leftist ideology.
Too many families haven't had that peace of mind. They see hate and anger and violence just walking the streets of America. And they just want to feel safe again. They want to feel a sense of security. When it comes to public safety in this nation, the answer is not defund the police, it's fund the police.
Fund. So will city leaders listen to Joe Biden? Or more importantly, their own fed-up citizens? Let's get into it with tonight's party panel. Independent Women's Forum senior policy analyst Inez Stepman. Former State Department deputy spokesperson and Fox News contributor Marie Harf. And 2020 Libertarian vice presidential candidate and chair of youarethepower.net, Spike Cohen. Spike, I'll start with you. What's happened to San Francisco? I was there in 2016. I thought it couldn't get worse. Obviously, it has.
I think it's going to keep getting worse. And I wish I could say San Francisco was an outlier, but we're seeing the consequences of multiple things here. The first thing that we're seeing is a system that makes the safety net more and more comfortable while removing more and more of the rungs from the economic ladder that people would use to climb out of that net if they wanted to. And we're seeing it come to its fruition in places like San Francisco, New York City, every major city, Portland, and everywhere else. You're coupling that with lax enforcement of crimes that actually have victims, like shoplifting, assault, and petty theft and things like that. And it's leading to what's frankly a humanitarian crisis. You know, cleaning up feces on the street and things like that. That's a humanitarian crisis. And I think that, you know, we're talking a lot about, should the police be defunded? Should they be funded more? And I think we need to look at this the same way we've started looking at education. Government-run monopolies have created this mess, and I think the market's going to get us out of it. And I think the same way that we're looking at school choice as a way to fix the problems created by government-run monopolies in education, we need to start talking about police choice. Having competition in a market makes the consumer the king, whereas a government-run monopoly makes everyone miserable. And I think we need to start applying those same kinds of principles to policing and frankly to everything else. If government's not doing a good job with their monopoly, not only should we be talking about tax strikes, which frankly we should be talking about constantly, but we should also be talking about getting them out of it entirely.
Yeah, Inez, the pushback is encouraging, is it not? I mean, I was going to ask you, is there any hope for cities like San Francisco, but is this encouraging? The idea that business leaders are saying that's enough.
I mean, they have to do something to get the attention of City Hall in San Francisco. And look, I don't come at this from the sort of hating mentality. I love cities. I grew up just south of San Francisco, spent every weekend there growing up, every other weekend taking the Caltrain up. It's a beautiful city, and it is a crime what has happened to it. So I totally support this tax strike as a method of just getting attention. Unfortunately, the politics of the city, I mean, I do think there's some hope. I do think people are fed up with these sort of quality of life issues, regardless of where they are on the political spectrum. But it's going to be tough with the political framing of the city and the people that they elect to actually get someone to go in there. They're more likely to prosecute these businesses for evading their taxes than they are to actually enforce some of the laws about drug use or people living on the street or, frankly, even violent crime.
Yeah. Marie Harf. Marie, I remember when we used to see each other almost every day. I miss you. I love you dearly. And I want to ask you, why are Democrats like yourself ruining our country?
Well, I miss you too, although I don't miss that kind of nonsense from you, Tom.
You do.
This is a humanitarian crisis. This is a catastrophe. And everyone, I think, wants homeless people off of the streets, first and foremost for their own health and well-being, and of course, because of the situation it's causing in places like San Francisco. We need more beds. We need more temporary housing. We need more mental health programs. And, you know, as Joe Biden says, he's the leader of the Democratic Party, we need more and better law enforcement when it comes to some of these issues. And there's clearly no one easy solution here. We can't just tell them all to leave and ship them off somewhere. These are humans, a lot of them with quite serious drug addiction problems, mental health problems, not all, but some. And so, you know, it's interesting to me, the merchants here have said this. They've called for more beds. They've called for more housing. They've called for humanitarian ways to get this problem fixed. But, you know, I'm not sure exactly what the solution is. I don't care if the government or a private company builds this temporary housing or gets more shelter beds for these folks. I just think clearly there's a catastrophe here, and someone needs to act.
Yeah, it's amazing. Like I said, 2016, parts of the city smelled like urine. There were tents everywhere. I mean, a lot of people say things like more beds, but you know, there's tents everywhere. The people, they're not going to go into shelters even if you build them for them. Anyway.